welcome to the continuation of the Welkin Suite webinar series. Our last webinar that we had, we were just focusing on getting started with the Welkin Suite. We were kind of showing what the key features that you needed to pay attention to start working in the Welkin Suite. So we're going to now proceed on with the thought that you have already started using the Welkin Suite. Also, you have a little bit of a basic understanding of how Git works. So we're going to respect your time by not re-explaining some of the key features that you should already understand. But saying that, if you have not used the Welkin Suite yet, after this webinar, just please go to our blog on our website, and you can find there some links to find a short getting started video, or you can even watch a recorded session of our previous webinar so that you can get started. Again, I'm sitting here with our head of product, Vladimir.
Hi guys.
And I'm Dan. I do communications and PR for the Welkin Suite. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go over Git. So, what is Git? Git is a distributed version control system that allows developers to have full control over the changes that are done within the system. It gives you the ability to painlessly roll back to any previous version. That's a pretty good textbook version of what Git is, right, Vladimir?
Yeah, then let's move to some practice maybe.
Yeah, so in real life, what is it? All of us are collaborating with other people to get things done. Such collaboration often involves developers, administrators, consultants, end users, and a lot of other people who contribute to the project in different ways. And of course, when they're doing their work can occasionally affect what you're doing. Of course, you can manually back up your folders that contain your code to recover from such cases, but this really is not a good option at all. Especially when you're working in large teams, you have different environments going on, and you really need some good transparency in relation to all of the work that's being done. In Git, you and your team are able to recover from any undesirable changes very quickly. And you also have a very clear, transparent tracking of all the changes that are done by the individual team members.
You're right, Dan. And we are even not yet touching these complex environments when you're developing managed packages with lots of different development orgs, or if you're working with lots of sandboxes for development, QAing, staging, and such different cases. And in Git, you can create different branches for each of these environments, so you can easily track what changes are deployed in each environment, and you can easily merge changes from one environment to another one, and easily deploy everything just using continuous integration tools or something like this. And this is why we really encourage all the Salesforce developers to start using Git, even if they're working on their own or if they're working in huge teams. This is really a great lifesaver in many cases.
Okay, so now we're going to show you how to use the Welkin Suite together with Git. Of course, you can use different tools to work with Git and everything will be fine. However, this is just another tool in your tool belt. Working with Git with the Welkin Suite is really quite straightforward if you've already worked with Git before. The main thing that we really need to that highlight is how you start working with Git, right, Vladimir?
Yeah, so how you can just point the Welkin Suite that this project belongs to some repository or something like this.
Okay.
So let's then switch out from PowerPoint and start working. So first of all, I have my project opened in the Welkin Suite already, and to start to open version control information, I will click View and select Show Version Control.
Okay, and what we have here is we just have a notice that says that we need to set up a repository because we haven't done that yet. Now there's two ways of doing this. We can create a new repository from scratch, or we can clone an existing repository.
Yeah, then, and I'll start showing from creating a new repository, and then it will be absolutely the same approach as with cloning repository from existing one. So let's then close this project here. So I have it in my file system, and I've also created repository in our local Welkin Suite's Bitbucket. So however, Git doesn't require you to use some remote Git providers like GitHub, Bitbucket or anything else. You can still use it locally just for yourself, but In most cases, it's just very relevant to use it with Bitbucket or GitHub. So I've created an empty repository here, and thanks to Bitbucket, it provides me a good list of commands which I need to do to just push my existing project to this repository. So the first main thing here is that the Welkin Suite does not allow you to initialize the repository just from scratch. In order to do this, you need to use some external tool like Git extensions or any other tool. But if you have Git already on your PC, you will also have Git bash tool. So what I'll do now, I'll copy these commands. So let's just check what are these commands. So first one is just initializing new repository, empty one. Second one is adding all existing files to the first commit. Then we are doing commit itself. Fourth one is pointing Git that this repository is pointing to some remote server, which is our Bitbucket. And the last one pushes all the changes to the remote. So I'll copy all these commands, open my Git bash, navigate here to my project, and paste them here. Waiting for a few seconds, and just last touch, push everything. Not the last one, I need to enter my password. So looks like we've pushed our project to repository. Let's check it. So I'll switch back to browser, press F5. Yes, we can see that it's now not empty, there is some content here. So it looks like we can already start working with the Welkin Suite and this Git repository. However, there is one very important thing to not forget to do in any case. So I will open my project in file system, and I need to open .git folder. So if it's hiding by default, so you can just enable showing hiding items in Windows. I open this folder, and I need to open config file. And I have this line prepared here. I need to append this line to the core section. So don't miss it, its core section is the first one in most cases, and I need to add this line. So this line directs Git to not try to manage line endings, because when installing Git you can configure it to use Windows endings or Unix endings, or just like in our case, don't care. So what is input, then it's output. We're doing this because both Salesforce and the Welkin Suite, not Salesforce, so the Welkin Suite already maintains and manages line endings in Unix way for all files. And this is very important for us because we are calculating hash sum of each file to perform some kind of intelligent build and pull process. And in case if you'll have the same files but with different like Windows endings and Unix endings on different PCs, you'll have some issues and conflicting builds and pull changes. So it doesn't matter if you're creating a new repository or if you already set up a Git repository and working with your team or on your own, just don't forget to open this git config file and add this line here. It will just save some of your time in the future. So I save this file, and now I can get back to the Welkin Suite itself. So I will open my project, and yep, we can see in the version control panel that it's not empty and everything is good right now. So the main point for us at the moment is the topmost drop-down, which provides us information about which views this panel provides us. So these are changes, branches, sync, and settings. And I think as we've kind of configuring our repository, it makes sense to open settings first. So on the settings view, we can see like username and email address text boxes, so they're already filled for me.
Yeah, and really what this is that this is what marks you as the author of some changes or some inputs into Git. Vladimir, is it important to make sure that these email addresses and usernames match up to what you're using on Git and throughout the project, or is it just kind of a process of doing things?
It's not mandatory by Git, but I know that in many enterprise companies, many enterprise projects, it's really mandatory and required for developers to maintain this username and email address to be their real name and their real email address of this enterprise. Because this is how your teammates will see, and I think they prefer to see me as Vladimir and not as, I don't know,
Hotkey King, as sometimes I call
something
him.
like this. So this is really important how you'll be shown to other users. And we also have here update gitignore and open gitignore files.
Yeah, and on this, the update git ignore is something to pay a little bit of attention to. We only want to send the data to Git that is important to other developers. We don't want to send things that are not useful there. So git ignore allows us to ignore certain things that are just more functional data from the Welkin Suite.
Yeah, you're right, Dan. So as you may know, all the IDEs in the world are generating and storing some technical system information for them just to speed up their work or to store some settings. So the Welkin Suite in case stores cached test results, cached test list, we are storing local history, but we'll talk about it a bit later. And we are also storing your user settings, which are responsible for storing information about panels location, recent projects, and such things. So in order to just not commit these files to Git, we need to click update gitignore, and if it was not yet created, we'll create it. If it is here, we'll update it. So, and we can see that we have two records for local history, we have record for user options and for test cache. So starting from the next commit, Git will ignore these files in the future and won't commit them. Close this file, and as we've done some changes, at least we've changed gitignore file, let's move into the changes panel. So right here we can clearly see our current branch, so it's master right now. We can see different files that we've changed. So yeah, as I mentioned, we can see user options file was changed. So I can just right click on any of them and discard changes or compare to understand what was changed in the file itself. Also on the right side of this version control panel I can see status like modified, renamed, deleted, edit or such things, so you know what's the reason of change. And when I'm happy with all my changes done, for example, if I've completed some feature or functionality, I can commit my changes. So I need to select some of them or all of them, press commit button, and I need to enter commit message.
Yeah, and here you can't take a shortcut. You have to enter this commit message, and actually it's just good practice to actually make this commit message as good as you can.
Absolutely, Dan, because it's how your teammates will see your work. And in my case, I think it's first part of message is bad, last part is good, but let's leave as it is. So I'm happy with it, I press commit button. You can see that everything is good, so there are no changes to commit. And now let's see what are the changes. So from another point of view, I'll move to the branches view. And from here I can see what branches my repository has. So right now it has only one branch, it's master, it's my current branch because it's highlighted with bold. I can see last commit author, last commit date here. And if I right click on the branch, I can switch to it, but we're already here. I can create a new branch, I can merge it, and I can view history. So let's check and view the history of this branch. So here I can see branch history details, I see all the commits for the branch, with some basic information available like commit hash, author, date, and description.
Yeah, and in the hover mode, if this isn't enough details, you can also go ahead and expand this out and show the details.
So just right click, select show details, and prefer this commit. Yes, so show details, and I can see almost the same information, but I see all the changed files in the commit. So again, absolutely in the same way, not at all. So if I want to understand what changes were done in each file, I can just double click on it here, and then I will again see this diff view.
Okay, and actually if you look at this diff view, if you're already using the Welkin Suite, it looks exactly what our local changes panel will look like, where you can actually compare the different versions side by side. But as Vladimir said, we'll hit a little bit more on that at the end of our Git discussion.
Yep, you're right, Dan. So I can see my changes, I'm happy with them 2 times. So once I've examined this, let's get back to branches. So also from here, from this branches view, I can create new branch. So to do this, I press new branch, I enter branch name, so let it be, I don't know, release, and I need to check which branch it will track. Another important thing to note here is that the Welkin Suite does not yet allow you to create branches on origin. So in my case, in Bitbucket server, I won't create new branch. I can just create a new local branch which will track some local or remote one. In case if you need to create a remote one, you just need to open your Git provider, or you need to open your good old friend Git bash and create a new branch. So, but right now I'm okay to create a new branch which will track master. I don't want to switch to it right now, and yes, let's track. So we can see that we already have two branches, and in case if I'll switch, right click on the release branch and select merge, I will see this merge panel or something like this with source already filled by release, target filled by master, and I can proceed with merging these branches.
Okay, and also when we do this merging, if you run into any type of conflicts, hopefully there are no conflicts, but it's life.
Yeah.
You've already been using the Welkin Suite, and so when you have these conflicts, you're going to notice that we handle them basically in the same way that we do inside the Welkin Suite during the push-pull process. And you'll see you can choose different merge tools. Of course, KDiff is what we have bundled into the Welkin Suite.
And you can also select from Beyond Compare, Arachis Merge, and some other ones. So it's absolutely the same process as in any other like Git tool. So let's move out from branches view and let's go to the sync, the last one view. So sync view just stands for mostly two features, pulling and pushing changes. So pull just downloads changes from Git, and push sends your commits to Git. In my case, I can see outgoing commits, so my commits that I've done a minute ago. It's available only locally, but not yet available on remote. So if I'm happy with this set of commits that are going to be sent to Git, I just press push, and here I need to enter my credentials.
Yeah, and here for right now you have to enter your password, which really is no big deal. But at the Welkin Suite, we kind of pride ourselves in removing and automating these little processes that just take seconds and divert your attention from what you're really having to do.
You're right, Dan, and as well as automating this like credential storing process, we'll add support for SSH authorization with Git repository, so it will be easier and it will be easier for you. So once I've entered my credentials, I just need to press submit, wait a second, and my changes were successfully pushed. I don't trust it. Let's check, let's get back to our browser and select commits. Yes, so I can see a new commit here. I can even check what's the content of the commit. Absolutely the same that we've seen in the Welkin Suite, so that's right, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if I get back to the Welkin Suite, the last one on this sync is pull button. Absolutely the same process, so you enter your credentials and start pulling commits from Git. And again here, in case of merge issue, if you have any conflicts, merge issues, you again see the same conflicts resolving process. You'll be able to use KDiff or other merge tool to resolve all the issues. Also, I wanted to mention two things here. So in case if you need to switch between branches, or if you need to pull changes from Git, the Welkin Suite again does not yet allow you to do this while you have not committed changes. So in this case you need to commit them or discard your changes, but better commit them. And in the nearest future we are planning to add support for stashing, so you'll be able to stash your changes, do whatever you want and then unstash them. And as well we'll add some automation support for this, so for example when you start pulling, you'll automatically stash your changes, perform all the pull stuff, and then unstash your changes, so you won't do nothing and you won't even realize what have happened. One last thing that I wanted to mention here, it's this branch dropdown. So in case if you want to switch branches, you don't need to switch to branches view, you can just select branch from this dropdown and it will be switched from here. So mostly that's what we wanted, not yet, not yet. So yes, that's most what we wanted to show you on how to work with Git from the Welkin Suite. So as you may see, this is very similar to all other Git tools regarding but you still need to keep in mind this notes, like you still can't initialize repository, you can't clone it, but it will be added in some nearest future. And another thing I wanted to point your attention here is that in the project file itself, if I open this SIApproach file in editor, we can Notice these 3 lines. These are your credentials for Salesforce org. So this is login in plain text, encrypted password and security token. So please keep in mind that if you're sharing your project with your teammates, you share as well your credentials. So they won't be able to unencrypt them or get them from here and start working in Salesforce. However, they will be able and they will be working with the same credentials as you. We also are working on the approach which will allow us to separate this information from the project file itself. So you just commit the project file, but you won't commit credentials. However, right now, please keep this in mind before you're sharing your Git with your teammates. And that's mostly it of Git and Welkin Suite. Maybe then we'll be happy to share some thoughts about local history.
Yeah, as you can see, working with Git from the Welkin Suite is actually just pretty straightforward. But sometimes you're working yourself on a project, or maybe your team involves just the guy that's literally sitting next to you. So you really don't need to have that huge amount of transparency in what's going on.
And actions.
Yeah, and actions. So of course, we have our own version control, the local history in the Welkin Suite, and I think we're going to be talking about this some more in some future webinars. But what's really nice about this, it's automated. So when you do a pull, when you do a push, when you do a save, it's automatically there, and you are also, just as what Vladimir was showing, you can compare any version to each other in side-by-side views. You can easily restore back to any previous version. So it's really nice to have this, I guess, for lack of a better word, simpler version control system that's automated for you, even if you're not working inside of a team.
Yeah, and even between us, to be honest, local history is just an automated Git repository itself. So just the same Git, but without any mess and without any additional actions from you. So, and that's it for now. Thank you for your attention. Don't forget to check out our blog, website, social media. If you have any questions regarding Git or the Welkin Suite, please write them down in the questions panel. We'll be here for the next 5 minutes or so to answer them. And I wanted to highlight you that starting from the next week, we will perform webinars regarding our new awesome retrospective debugger. I'm really very excited to announce it to you, to show it how it works and what great abilities it provides you. So just keep in touch and stay tuned. We'll announce it, I think, maybe in some days. And we'll release this retrospective debugger, I hope, on Tuesday or on Wednesday next week.
Yeah, because I know our Salesforce development team sitting here in house has been waiting for this debugger to come out, and I know everyone else in the Salesforce developer community has been waiting for these debuggers to finally come available into these IDEs. So it will be great. So pay attention to that. Again, thank you for listening to our webinar, and we'll stay on for the next 5-10 minutes waiting to see if you have any type of questions or comments. We'll be happy to share it with us. So